Hello, my fellow parents, and hello to you, Jordan. Everyone's listening. You know what? One thing I love about our generation of parents, Jordan, is that we actually really care about our kids. We don't want to screw them up. This way, I don't know about our parents. I can't speak for them, but I don't know if our parents were as concerned about this. Like, we really don't want to screw our kids up, Jordan, do we? We really want to.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time, some of our parents were just trying to survive. We can't even think that far. Like
Yeah.
if you've been
Right.
hungry or thirsty, like the only thing you could think about is like that next drop of water or that next
Oh,
meal. You have no
goodness.
time
Yeah.
to think about the future. So some of us are
Right.
drowning so much. It's just like, I honestly don't care if these kids are going to survive or like get screwed up. I just need to make sure they survive today, and there's
Yes.
no
Yeah.
forward thought process.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And now we are a generation that we've been bombarded with two things. One thing we've been bombarded with is stats, like all this stats about trauma. We watch TikToks or Instagrams or YouTube about
Hmm.
all this crazy stuff that happened. Like research has come up about childhood trauma and don't yell at your kids. It creates trauma.
Right.
Spanking creates trauma. I'm like one of those people, right? We just made 2 episodes about all this stuff. And
Right.
like, well, this is good information, but this can like screw us up in our minds. It can make us so afraid of screwing up our kids. And it's like something now we're talking about. Like we have a whole episode on it.
Well, the problem is there is so much negativity in these stats where it's like no one's giving us a blueprint for success. I mean, basically,
Oh,
it's like here's
so
what's
good.
not to do, and then if you were to write it all out, you would be looked at a game plan like, how do I win here? There's no process to win with
My
everything you've given me. That's
gosh.
negativity. Like, how am I supposed to do that? So sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to don't give me your stat. Don't give me any more information. I'm going to do this on my own and I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it
Dude,
my
my
way.
mind is blown right now of how incredible what you just said was. That is so true. That is so our society. All these fear mongering stats, and they make us afraid. Our kids are going to get kidnapped. Our kids are going to get sexting. Our kids are going to get, molested. Our kids are going to get caught up by predators, and our kids are going to get addicted to the Snapchat, and they're going to go
Yeah.
on the TikTokers. But no one's
Yeah.
telling us what to do. And I have
Right.
proof of that actually. If you hang on to me and listen to this episode, you will see how true Jordan's words just were. I'm like kind of like shocked at what you just said, right? Why don't we do that? We just push all this fear out there to parents, but then no one ever tells them what to do about it. Why do we
Because
do that
fear
to people?
sells, man. It's all
Uh,
about the dollar,
so
unfortunately.
true.
Fear sells
So
and it gets the
true.
clicks and it gets people,
Yes.
yelling at each other. And we just got to turn that all off. And
It's
like,
so
that's why,
true.
honestly, that's why it's so important to have like good, let's say, small groups if you're in a church or like family, friends and
Yes.
you're around each
Yeah.
other and you guys can like really, they say it takes a village. You can all help each other out. Because if you turn
Yeah.
to these stats, it's not going to help you.
I got some stats I'm going to share in a few minutes, but it makes me even think back to at so many of these schools, they have these like webinars about screens. And I've been in the screen space for so long, and oftentimes they'll have police officers giving these speeches to the parents for like a parent ed like talk. And these cops will come in and they'll just scare the parents to death. And I've had
Yeah.
a lot of invitations. And it's like they're inviting me. Can you come tell the parents the danger of this topic?
Right.
Can you talk about the dangers of vaping? Can you talk about the danger of Snapchat? And it puts butts in seats, but it's kind of messed up. It
Right.
creates this whole generation of scared parents, and that's no doubt that's what we are. We are a generation. You've heard me say this before of scared parents, dude. It's so true. And now we're actually contributing to it because we have an episode called three ways to screw up your kids. So
That's true.
just
You're
hang
right.
on tight because
It's
that's
our
not what
fault
we're doing
too.
here. It's something better, right? It's like fake
We're
click,
part of the
right? We
problem.
are
That's
part
so
of the
true.
problem. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
everybody. I'm a hypocrite. I came
Yeah.
up with this title, and now I'm doing it. Now I'm
You know
talking
what? But
about
you're
it.
actually giving tips, and in every episode, we learn certain things to do to move us forward. Like
Yeah,
some of the
yeah,
stats you're going to give us today, coming from the CDC or coming from Pew Research, there's never
yeah.
anything where it says like, oh yeah, I should do that. It's like here's what not to do.
Oh, dude, you have no idea how true what you're saying is. So I actually chatted with you last week. We were doing a pre-show, meeting. What should we talk about? And
Yeah.
I had this idea about screwing up our kids. And so I said, hey man, what comes to mind for you? And you gave two great things. And so we're going to share your two things with our listeners, and I'm going to pick one of them. And so first thing that came to mind that you shared was what? Tell us, Jordan, what is one way that we parents can really screw up our kids?
Well, this is a common thread in a lot of our podcasts, but it's screen use, and I was more specific into delay the process to give your child a cell phone as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I'm going to say right now, Sean, this is fear driven. All right,
Mm-hmm.
I follow someone on social media. He's actually a great follow. His name's Officer Gomez. He
Yeah,
gives really good stats from
he does.
that world, from
Yeah,
a police officer's world, about what he sees
yeah,
in what he hears about. And like the way the world is connected on this device that's the size of a dollar bill or smaller is amazing. I mean, we have more technology in that thing than they had on the Apollo 11 mission. Like,
my
it
gosh.
is incredible how much of the world is there and
Yeah,
how much of the world can help influence our children or unfortunately prey on our children.
yeah,
Yes, it's good to communicate with our kids. I think that is a very important thing we need to do in today's world while they're out and about. Some people have watches and GPS trackers so they know where their kids are. And I get it, right? We just want them to be safe. But I think delaying that process to an actual cell phone, which then can stem into social media use, is one of the things that I highlighted to you. And it is fear driven, but I just know how complicated that device can be, man. And
so
it can
complicated.
be great, but it can be evil. And what kids do to each other. I mean, think about bullying when we were kids and just like snickering. I mean, now it's subliminal, it's through messaging. You don't even talk to each other anymore. And these
No.
kids are all depressed now.
Dude, very articulate. I like to tell people that this screen that we hold in our hands, and you aren't even listening to me on this screen right now, it's the greatest, most powerful device in the history of mankind. It's more powerful than any gun, than any bomb, than any tank. Why? Because it has the ability to change our minds. It's changing what it means to be a human. It's changing the childhood experience. It's changing the parenting experience. And we are the first ones. We are the first generation of parents of freaking human beings who are growing up with screens everywhere, and now our children want them, they have them, they cannot escape them. So yes, we are going to share some things that are kind of scary here today, but mainly what we're going to be doing is making an episode of positive tools and uplifting inspiration, because we do not want to see you screw up your kids with screens. Screen
Yeah.
addiction is so real. Giving a kid a screen too early is very dangerous. But the issue we have mostly now is not so much, Jordan, what people are listening to. Like, it's not so much like, this isn't a whole episode about delaying giving your child a screen. It's like, well, what do I do when they have screens? Because the reality is that they have screens. People are listening to this right now. They have a 2-year-old who is playing games, on an iPad while the mom is in Target shopping. And I'm not shaming that parent. I'm just saying this is a fact. Like, we
Right.
can't escape this. This is here. It's happening. What do we do about it?
Right. And I'm not the one to say like, oh, the government needs to step in and set a rule as to what age people can have phones. I mean, they did that with, think about alcohol, right?
Yeah.
21's the age here in the United
Yeah.
States. If you have it before, you're too young, you need to wait and get a little older so you can kind of understand it a little bit better and your body can maybe handle it a little
Yeah.
better. But the same thing with phones and some of these devices and social media is it can be so toxic to adults, let alone to these kids who are just trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like, if you are looking for more tools on screen use, we'll keep following this podcast, but also you can go back to one of our earliest episodes. I think it's episode 5, when we do a whole episode on screens, thriving with screens, tools for screens. So we're going to give you more tools here and in the future, because here's something interesting. When the iPhone first started coming out, when the iBox and the Xbox first started getting web connected, us parents at that time, it was just like, way back then, now it seems. It's like this 2007. Parents are very concerned about content. Is my kid looking at pornography? Is my kid chatting with an adult predator? And
Mm,
while that's still a big issue, the biggest concern that most of us are dealing with now is the issue of time. How much time should I give my kid? How do I do it in the summer? What if I'm a single mom and I can't afford a babysitter? Or how do I know that my 8th grader is what they're doing because they're sitting in their bed with their laptop open
right.
studying,
Right.
kind of listening to music? Are they on YouTube?
Right.
Like, what are they doing? What if my kid refuses to go to karate or doesn't want to do extracurriculars? What if they're, there's COVID or they're new in the new neighborhood and they have no friends to hang out with? How much time do we give them then? We need support, and parents need tools for these, and they need to answer these questions, right?
Yeah. And that's why we're here. I mean, that's why you're here. That's why you're kind of teaching us because, I mean, this new digital age, it's only getting crazier with AI coming out, and it's just going to be so much more complicated in the next couple of years compared to what it is
Oh,
right now. And it's
AI.
already completely different than it was 5 years ago.
So, Jordan, I know you've got some stats prepared for us for our second way to screw up kids, but I actually prepared some stats for this episode on number one way we can screw it up kids is to, have a dysfunctional relationship in our homes with screens. And we let them to abuse screens, have too much screen time, not have the maturity to thrive with screens. And I got some stats. You ready for this?
Yeah. What are you going to go with first? From who?
Well,
From where?
Okay, well, I'm going with the big dogs, man. I mean, I
Okay.
spent some time on Google. This isn't the first time I've done that, too. I've been speaking about screens for a long time. I just want to look for the latest and the greatest research from the biggest, smartest people we have here in America. So I've got some stats for you. Ready? The first one is something from this big think tank called the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. So we got some smarty pants PhDs up here. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, throw it at us. What does it say?
Here's what it says. Okay, here it comes, everybody. You ready for this? Hold on tight. If you're getting and trust me when I say, if you're getting a pen out to take notes, put your pen away, everybody. Put your pens away. You are going to be freaking pissed off and angry over the next 5 minutes of your life. Here's what they say. Parents, I'm going to try not to say it with a salty voice, even though I'm going to get very salty in this episode. Parents should establish certain screen time guidelines to help reduce the negative impact screen exposure has on children.
Oh, thank you for that groundbreaking information. What are those guidelines, psychiatrists?
That's it, man. That's it.
That's it. No, here are the guidelines. Here's the general rule.
That's effing it. The smartest people in our nation got together to make a website for regular people like me and you to Google. And that is one of their only things that they have on this webpage. They have other things. I'm going to show you what they have. But that's it. That parents should establish screen time guidelines to help with negative impact or screen exposure. That's it! I'm making the saltiest face right now. Come on, man.
Dude, that's ridiculous.
That's
okay.
Ridiculous. Like, that's okay. You ready?
Okay, that's just one site. Let's go to a different one. Maybe they're just having an off day.
Let's go to CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. I don't know why CDC is doing stuff for screens. Like, do they have diseases and screens?
Yeah.
Right? But lots of
probably linked to depression and all that. Okay.
If you love the CDC, you love them. You love them. You trust them. Well, then this might hurt your trust, or if you have challenging feelings about the CCD, this might add to it. Here's what they say. You ready for this groundbreaking? Children between the ages of 10 and 19 are the most affected by screen time.
Really? Thank you.
You're laughing, dude. Ready? Here comes this one.
Okay.
Excessive screen time does harm their health.
Thank you.
This is ridiculous, man.
Well, at least they said it does harm their health. They're actually admitting to something that it is causing a problem. Okay, thank you.
This? However, additional problems arise at this age from screen exposure. I'm sorry, I can't talk sometimes. From screen exposure. And they include cyberbullying and screen addiction. Interesting. Thank you so much. I did not know that.
Right.
And no one knew that, CDC. What the hell, man? What is going on with these people? Okay, how about this? You ready for something good? I Googled, what does Google say?
Great question.
Say? Right?
What was your question to Google? How much screen time should a kid have?
I tried like 4 different responses, man. I mean, you think if anyone knows what we should be doing with screens, wouldn't it be Google? Wouldn't it be Apple? Wouldn't it be
No,
Nintendo?
because they're a screen.
Microsoft?
They're a screen, dude. They want you on their platform. No, they're not going to tell you the truth.
I know, but like, what? This is a
You think
serious
they have a
problem.
moral
They're
obligation?
the smartest.
No.
They're the smartest persons in the room. They are the
They're
one
definitely
inventing this
smart.
stuff. They know what's up. Shouldn't they be the ones responsible for giving us tips? Like, wait, what, isn't that? Wouldn't that make sense? Like, I think there must be a law on like beer or like tobacco where they have to put that warning on there. You know what I mean? Like, they're at least
Yeah, warning, this will cause cancer, has been known to
you
cause
should put like
cancer.
some type of. I mean, I don't need
Warning.
some dumb warning on my freaking PlayStation
Right.
5 or Xbox or my iPhone, but seriously, I found nothing from these companies. What's up with that, man? Nothing.
And sometimes too, I think you know, they get, I don't know, could get pressured into not posting certain things because of a backlash,
Yeah. Yeah.
of certain parents that, maybe
Yeah.
think this is the way to teach our young generation how to deal with
Sure.
technology going forward. They need to have
Yeah.
this stuff at a young age. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
spitballing here, but
I,
we know,
that's the thing. You're just spitballing.
any parent could just take a notebook and document. Child one had 3 hours of screen time on Monday. Child two had 6 hours of screen time on Tuesday. And at the end of the week, see how it pans out and do your own kind of documentation
Yeah.
to see what it's doing to your kids.
I do want to give props to these companies because in the last 10 years, they have developed parental controls on these Xbox, on these Nintendos. They have made it easier to put them on your kid's laptop. I want to praise one company right now, and I want to shame another. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Even though people bash on TikTok, in my personal experience, of all the companies I've seen, this TikTok, I think, is really doing the best it can to really keep kids safe. They have commercials out there to promote its parental systems. And have you ever noticed? I've noticed. I had a hard time sleeping a couple nights ago because I hurt my back playing basketball, and I was on TikTok for like a long time. And I think at I was on it for like an hour straight or an hour and a half. I got this little warning. I had this like beautiful black woman. It's like she comes on the screen. You've probably seen her if you've been on TikTok before. She's like, "Hello, how's it going?" And you can't like swipe past her or something like that. And she's like, "I've noticed you've been on here a long time." I
Really?
was like, what? I was like,
Wow.
yeah. I say, hey, I know you're having fun. It was very polite. It's very calming. It says something like this. I've seen her before. I'm like kind of ashamed to say that. I've seen her before. It's like, hey, just let you know it's late at night and you probably should be sleeping right now.
Oh,
It's probably a
wow.
good time for you to put your phone down. And I was like, that's a good point. Nice
Right.
lady. And like
Right. Because you
that's
were
like
stuck in the rabbit hole, man. You were
I
deep down that
was.
rabbit hole.
My back was in a ton of pain. I think I have a pinched disc in my back, something bad, and it was very helpful. So I just want to say props for TikTok
For doing that.
for talking to me like that.
I
Yeah,
think Netflix does like, are you still watching? Question mark. And it has like, are you still here? Sometimes if you're just letting it
yeah,
play on autoplay, or else
yep,
that's YouTube. That's
yeah,
one of them. But
yeah.
that's cool that that actually recommended you to set it down and go to sleep.
It did.
That's rare.
That's like what the future should be. That's what the present should be, especially
Yeah,
for
but what is
children.
okay? So the problem is going to be is what is that time limit depending on what age and who sets that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you get into problems, which is why I think it's every parent needs to make that decision for their kids, and then of course you need to make it for yourself. But I know I start to get a little bit of a migraine within just like
Mm.
5 minutes of scrolling. I'm like, I'm done, I'm out.
5 minutes, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of like a good thing that your brain does that to you. It's like sending you your own little
Yeah,
message like, hey, a little bit too much, Jordan. So
and the way I could
the
tell my heart rate's getting different, my breathing's getting shallower.
yeah.
I
Well,
I, I can notice this on myself.
I want to shame one company, and they're working on it. But did you know this? You may not know this, or you may know this that essentially Google created this little computer called a Chromebook, and they made it very cheap. And then what they did is they contacted all these school districts from all around the country and probably around the world, and they said, "Hey, I'd like to make a deal with you, and if you buy these Google Chromebooks from us, then we will give them to you at a great rate, and you can give them to your students." School mandated Chromebooks are now all around the world, all around the country. And guess what this company did? This shady company. They gave these school mandated um,
Chromebooks.
Chromebooks to kids, and the parents could not put parental controls on them, and they could not block YouTube, which is owned by Google, on these Chromebooks. That's a true story.
Really?
Yes.
From a business
It is
perspective, that is freaking genius, but not okay when you're messing with our kids.
straight up
Yikes.
messing with our kids. And I believe they're trying to do something about that now. I believe that some of these Chromebooks now have the ability to block some of these, but this is so wrong that Google did that. And they convinced and they lied to these school administrators. They see if it a lie. They said a lie that there's research that supports that kids learning on a screen enhances their learning more than a book and a piece of paper. And you can Google this. And it is not true. It is not scientifically proven and contextualized by all these other smart people that learning on a screen is better than learning with a piece of paper, man. And it's all about this money grab, dude.
I mean, there's studies that show it's better to learn on a piece of paper because as you're writing it down, you're retaining that knowledge and it's becoming more memorable. The problem now is the tech is getting so, we're moving at light speeds here that soon there's no reason to retain knowledge because the knowledge is just going to be built into our heads with, the neural link that Elon's bringing in. Or I just saw a video the other day of someone wearing this headset, and as
Yeah.
it was on 60 Minutes, and as the reporter was asking questions, crazy questions about world policy and stuff you wouldn't normally know, it would go into this headset and it would mess with their brave wavelengths and tell them the answer.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So like we're going into that direction.
It's weird.
But like I was thinking, why do places like Pew Research and the CDC and some of the ones that you were bringing up not give us specific guidelines? And maybe it goes down to like, litigation. And I'm thinking, you're at school, you're a teacher, how have these Chromebooks, CDC says we should limit screen time, but we are teaching on these screens, and so we
Yeah.
can't do that. And then you have this constant fight between parents and teachers, and like
Yeah.
now teachers aren't disciplining kids, and it's just getting so crazy that like
Right.
there's been a huge jump into parents homeschooling now just because there's
Yes.
no more responsibility held at the school districts and beyond.
Well, yeah, this is because this, like you said a few minutes ago, this is a parent's job. To teach morals, to teach screen limits. And yet what's happening here is that with these screens, we're struggling as parents. Parents are struggling. And then that behavior issues are moving into our schools. And now the teachers are struggling because teachers are not meant to be parents. They're meant to be awesome teachers. I'm going
Right.
to share a few more stats. Now I'm going to share these stats because on one hand, I think they're helpful, but I'm going to put a little twist on these stats. Okay. This is, I believe this is from the CDC website. Okay. Now this is not funny what I'm about to read. On one hand, it could be funny because like we were laughing before. It's like, ha ha ha, we knew that. This website's a joke. This organization's a joke. But this is pretty serious stuff. So when I say to you, direct quote from their website, I believe this is CDC, too much screen time may lead to sleep problems, lower grades in school, reading fewer books, less time with friends and family, not enough outdoor physical activity, weight problems, mood problems, poor self-image, poor body image issues, fear of missing out, less time learning other ways to relax and have fun. Now, when you read this, what this is really about is too much screen time may lead to these things. But my parents, if you're listening to this, I really want you to hear me right now because I care about you and I care about your kids. If your kids are abusing screens and they have these problems, it says everything about you as a parent. It says more about you than it does your child. It means you need to reevaluate your parenting. You need to stop enabling all this screen time. You need to stop letting your kids abuse screen time. You need to grow up as a parent. You are dealing with the world's most dangerous device, and I'm begging you, please stop doing this. Please stop giving your kids so much screen time that they are now having sleep problems, low grades in school. They're not getting outside. They have weight problems. They have fear of missing out. They have mood problems, and they have family problems because of you. You have made a bad choice, and you have been giving them too much screen time. And I beg you, I encourage you, I plead with you, please change.
I feel like you were talking to me, and if anybody's listening thinking that Sean's bashing you, he's not. He's not, right? So like just from my perspective, I continuously battle with this all the time, right? Like the last week, my kids were getting really moody and just I could tell they were not on their A game. So we said no tech. And basically that just means no small screens, right? Can't watch the iPad, can't watch the phone on YouTube. If you're going to watch something, watch it on the big screen in the living room, right? So that way we're all kind of doing it together.
So let me just
And don't
pause
get me,
because I actually really
go
love what
ahead.
you're saying, and I really want everyone to hear this.
Okay.
What you're saying is very wise. I believe in it and I teach it. There is a big difference, Jordan, and the tech companies are not going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you from these small screens versus TV. We know it. There is research out there, but no one talks about the research. They don't have it ready to tell you. So, Jordan, I like what you're doing. You're talking about, yes, there's a difference in TV versus these small screens, these tablets, these screens. And this is a big part of your parenting vibe. Please continue. I hope it's okay
Yeah,
that I
because
interrupted you.
you don't know what they're watching. And, what if my kids are always like, can I go watch it in my room? And I'm like, no, because I can't monitor that. And so then it gets to a point where I'm like, at least if it's on TV, I can see what they're watching. I can enjoy it with them. And yes, they turn on YouTube and we watch it together. And I think, what are the shows these kids are watching these days?
Right,
My
buddy.
mom probably still thought the same thing when I was watching some, Saved by the Bell or whatever it was back in the day, right? Like
No, well,
cartoon.
that's
Go
part of
ahead.
the thing. That's the thing. Back in the day, your parents could trust more of what they're watching. The worst thing that you could be watching was either
You're
MTV,
right.
MTV
Because
Spring
with
Break,
YouTube,
or
yes.
HBO type stuff, right? But
Yeah.
right? So yeah, the
Yes.
parents could
You are right.
trust.
You are right. And now with YouTube, you don't know what these creators are creating, these content
You
creators,
can't
and we don't
trust
know what's on
YouTube.
there.
I don't
And there'll be
trust
some,
YouTube, and I don't
yeah,
trust YouTube Kids. I've seen some horrible stuff on both those
yeah,
apps. Wrong stuff, and it's another black mark for this company called Google. If you ask me, I do not trust them, and they need to do better. They really need to do better. Now I
it's
have
just
some more
hard.
stats for you.
Go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
hard. We're so
It's
hard.
hard. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm trying to empower all of us because I care. So here's a stat from the CDC. The CDC had these little charts on their website. You can go and see them. And on the
Okay.
surface, I was very excited to read them, Jordan. It's called screen time versus lean time. I was like, oh, that's kind of catchy, right? I'm
Yeah.
excited to look at them. So,
Yeah.
and then I got even more excited because they have age appropriate ones. They have 4. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe they're doing it. Maybe they're doing it, Jordan. They're finally coming out with some direction because anybody who knows about screens or how to help parents with screens, the first thing you should be thinking about is age, right? So,
Well,
Jordan, what you're doing there with a 9-year-old, that's amazing parenting. But you don't want to be doing that with a 16-year-old.
right.
Hey, what are you doing?
Right.
Hey, I know you're almost a senior in high school. I need to know what you're looking at. What are you looking
Right.
at? No, you can't go in your bedroom. No. Oh, I know you're thinking about joining the army in a year, but no,
Yeah.
you can't go in your bedroom by yourself. Like
Right.
that's so dumb, right?
Yeah.
Like so they need to this is partly why these companies there's a million reasons why they do not give us any knowledge or tips.
Yeah. Because it's so
One of the
complicated.
reasons is so complicated.
So what is
Come
lean
on.
time? You said
They're
screen time
smart.
versus lean time. What does lean time mean?
Well, it's just like exercise,
Oh.
healthy time, right?
Oh, okay. Okay. Screen time versus healthy
But
time.
just to
Got
get
it.
you ready, these charts are so weak sauce. They have cartoons on them. Can I just tell you what they say? You ready for this? Kids ages 8 to 10. They
Great.
tell
Right
us-
in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, right in your wheelhouse. Yeah, I've got a 7-year-old, so almost there. So they tell us first what they average a screen time a day is. 6 hours a day average for kids 8 through 10 right now. That's it. That's a lot. Especially
And I wonder, does that count like school, right? Does that count like being
No,
on the screen at
I
school?
believe this was pleasure.
Oh, wow. 6 hours?
Well,
You go to school at 8 a.m. Let's say you get home at 3. Let's do 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9 o'clock at night. That's a
Yeah.
lot. That's the whole time. That's a whole day.
That's average. Well, you have to include the weekends too. Must be benders, right?
Oh, right.
Well, the biggest stat that Time Magazine produced, this was about 13, 14 years ago, and I was doing a lot of speaking about screens, was the average kid was 9 hours a day. That's a kid. That's a kid.
That's
It's a teenager
insane.
and a kid.
That's a lot.
Insane. If you do the math, it's like, what the crap are you doing with your life? And that's
Right.
for pleasure, not including. So, okay, you told us the recommended. So okay, what else is on this lean screen? Well, here, you ready for this mind-blowing? Recommended 1 to 2 hours a day, no TVs in the bedroom. What do you think about that? 8 to 10,
Wait.
1 to 2 hours a day.
1 to 2 hours a day of the screen?
Yeah, no TVs
Oh,
in the
okay.
bedroom.
With no TVs in the bedroom. Recommended.
Yeah, how do you feel about that advice?
I feel better about that advice.
Me too.
Way better.
That's good advice.
That's great advice. 1 to 2 hours a day of screen time. No TV in the bedroom. That's great.
CDC, you did it.
Yeah.
Okay, don't get your hopes up. You ready for ages 11 through 14?
Okay.
Okay, so now we have tweens and teens. 14, right? 8th grade, grade 8. right? Maybe ninth grade. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Average 9 hours a day.
Dang.
Recommended 1 to 2 hours a day. No TVs in the bedroom.
Oh, hey, same advice. That's great. Okay. All right.
And any thoughts on that? Same
Nope.
exact advice?
Nope.
And
No
you're ready for
thoughts.
15 through 18, right?
All right.
At this age, you can be driving cars. You can be
Yep.
having sex. You can be impregnating somebody, getting someone pregnant. You can maybe do acts of violence. You can join the military. Average. It says here, going down. Maybe it was a misprint. Maybe I misprinted it. 7.5 hours a day is average.
Okay.
So less
Jeez.
time.
Well, they're busier. They're
That's
out.
a lot of time. That's a lot of time on
That is a
Snapchat.
lot.
8 hours a day?
Yeah.
That's a lot of time on fantasy football on Instagram. 8 hours a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how much? Guess how much they recommend? Recommendation: 1 to 2 hours a day. No TVs in the bedroom.
No TVs in the room at 17 years old.
It's the same recommendation for every age group. Those
You know what?
big
As I look
dummies.
at these average screen times, I'm like, no wonder there are so many content creators. They're on their screens and they're producing content on their screens,
Yeah.
and it's becoming a job because so many people
Yeah.
are on there. It's creating this industry that's blowing up.
Dude, we all thought that streaming services was going to outplace cable, like Hulu, Netflix.
Yeah.
Guess what? Now they're all going in the tanks because content creators are getting more attention from people.
Mm-hmm.
People on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook Reels. Like my
they're
Facebook
doing their own
Reels,
stuff.
My Instagram is exploding, man. And I hope it's exploding for all the right reasons because I want to make good, wholesome content. All right, ready for CDC? Maybe we're not. CDC. According to Kaiser Family Foundation, kids average now 8 to 18 now spend an average of a whopping 7.5 hours in front of a screen for entertainment each day, 4.5 of which are spent watching TV. Over a year, that adds up to 114 full days of watching screens for fun. 114 full days watching screens for fun. That's a lot.
It's too much, man. I mean, back in the day, think about how it was when you go to school, you learn about auto body shop, you kind of maybe do some stuff outdoors, you learn to fish. You're doing things that are just more tangible and basically enjoying your life. And now we just sit there and watch others enjoy their life.
So sad. So deep. You watch others enjoy your life.
Their lives, yeah.
Versus back in the day, we would do this.
Right.
Hey,
can you play?
Do you
Right.
want to ride bikes? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to shoot hoops? Do you want to walk to the mall?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you do when you're a teen girl. You go to the mall with your friends. You go over to each other's houses, sleepovers.
Well, let's take it a step farther. How about adults? You would go to a bar, you would go out to an event and be like, hey, how are you? Would you like to go out to dinner sometime? You would ask someone out on a date. Now what do? You swipe right or you swipe left and you're on a dang screen trying to find your mate.
So it's just some people have let screens ruin their humanity. Some people have let screens ruin their parenting. Some people have let screens ruin their family. Don't be that person.
Remember, this is just the first way to screw up our kids. We still have more.
I know. We are. I know. I think you're going to enjoy this episode. Hang tight. Now, I hope it's not going too long, but I do have some things from the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry that are on their website, and most people are not going to take the time to go there. So I think if it's good, if I just spend about 30 seconds, can I read what you have on the website, and we'll do a little color commentator on it? Is it cool?
All right.
Okay. Managing a child's screen time is challenging for families. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Hold back the sarcasm. You bring
yes,
the
it is.
sarcasm.
Thank you.
It's like your child is never too young for a screen time plan. Consider the following as a guideline. Okay, here we go. We got a guideline.
Yeah.
Talk to us, geniuses. I mean, these are some smart people over here. All right. Until 18 months of age, screen time use to video chatting with an adult. Okay. Until 18 months of age, limit screen use to video chatting along with an adult.
Okay. So like if they want to see their grandparents want to see them, it would just be like a video chat, and that's what they're going to see the screen. They're going to see the family member that's out of town, out of state. Okay.
The last time I looked at stats, Jordan, like when I was raising my young children when they were 2, I looked at the stats, and it used to be no screen time, period, until they're 2. No TV, nothing.
Yeah.
And at that time, we had just spent like $120 on like this whole disc of like baby DVD
Baby
time.
geniuses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Baby Geniuses. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that totally makes sense. Like the Baby Geniuses is for us, the parents, but it's not good for the kids' brains. And the nerds, all the nerds have told us that it's not good
Yeah.
for them under 2. So you giving your child that iPad when you're walking in Target or a Costco or in the grocery store, it's not good for them. It's good for you, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not good for them. So
Right.
what are you going to do about it? Okay, number 2, between 18 and 24 months, screen time should be limited to watching educational programming with a caregiver.
Okay.
It's good, right?
Yep.
Between
They can monitor what they're watching. They can watch it together. All
watch
right.
some Baby Geniuses, some good,
Sure.
good slow movements.
Elmo. Watch some
Yeah.
Elmo go on the potty.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
Yeah,
good
man.
stuff.
Sesame Street, dude.
Right.
Sesame Street's
Right.
good stuff, man.
Yeah.
All right, for children 2 to 5, here comes the groundbreaking information. Okay, now we're getting to the nitty gritty. We're getting out of the 2 to 3-year-old. What are you going to tell us, smarty pantses? Children 2 to 5, limit non-educational screen time to about 1 hour per weekday, and 3 hours on the weekend days.
Okay. And see, this is when it gets complicated because like my kids love Paw Patrol. I mentioned the Elmo thing. And so, I guess you could argue Elmo and Sesame Street is part of, some kind of learning content, but it's really non-learning. It's really just, way to pass time. But, kids want to watch cartoons. They're fun. I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja
Right.
Turtles as a kid. It was awesome. I'm
Yeah,
just
buddy.
my thing, and I don't know if there's science on this, but I put it on the big screen. I don't put it
Yeah.
on the small screen.
Big difference. Great tip. It's like what we really need is we really need tips for kids. And this is my opinion, like 8 and up, especially around age 12. Like there's a difference between age 8 and 12. Like no 8-year-old should have an iPad or a tablet or a phone. That's just obvious. Even though some parents are doing that, which is a horrible decision. But it's like, what do we do when our kids are like some of their friends are starting to get screens or Xboxes, or they're starting to get their
That's
6th grade
hard.
and they're on Instagram. That's what we need tools for.
That's
Let's see what
hard.
the government gave us these tips. Well, for ages 6 and older, here it comes. Encourage healthy habits and limit activities that include screens. That's it. How about this groundbreaking, shocking knowledge from our government? Turn off all screens during family meals and outings.
That's good. Okay.
Learn about and use parental controls. Avoid using screens as pacifiers, babysitters, and to stop tantrums.
Yeah. That's a tough one for a lot of us.
Oh,
Shoot,
we've
I've
all
done that. We've
with
all done it.
tantrums.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here, take it.
Take it, dude. Those tantrums, yeah. Turn off screens and remove them from bedrooms 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime.
That's
So,
an
yes,
important one. That's an important one.
dude. Like almost none of us grew up with any screens in our bedrooms. That's a huge mistake to give
Yeah.
anybody a screen in their bedroom.
I won't even put a TV in my bedroom. I won't.
That's a big hack for a lot of healthy marriages. Do not have screens in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
Right? It's a huge hack. Now we have a screen. We have one in our bedroom, but it makes it convoluted. It's confusing because what happens if a school gives a kid in 6th grade a school issued Chromebook, which we're referring to, or what about if a kid gets a laptop and they put it up in their room? Well, now they have a laptop or they have a desktop in their bedroom, and there goes that. And now they have a screen. They have unlimited access to every website you can imagine, unless you lock that up with parental controls. There's only one person blocking your child from the most gruesome, pornographic, illegal, evil, mind-sucking, immoral material in the world, and that person is you. The government will not do it. I will not do it. It's you. There's only one wall. There's only one orange cone. There's only one boundary between you and between your child and your child becoming a screen addict, and that is you. So if your child is struggling with screens, if your child is screen addicted, if your child is totally lonely and said all my friends are on a screen, if your child is totally abusing screens and doesn't leave the house on the weekends, is not involved in sports or activities, there's only one person to blame, and it's only because of one person.
It's an easy parenting tool to lean on. It gives us the 5 or 10 minutes to decompress. I get it, man. I get it. It's hard. kids clawed us all day. I think I just read somewhere it said the average 4-year-old asks 325 questions a day. That's why you're tired. So like, I'm like, dude, I get it. It's like,
so
stop with the
good.
questions.
That's
Take
so
this.
good.
Walk away from me.
Right. Now, let's wrap this up before we go to number 2 of 3 ways to screw up our kids. There is this very famous woman called Jean Twenge, and she's a professor of psychology at San Diego State University. She wrote 2 big books called iGen and Generations. They examine how smartphones have affected America's youngest generations. And this is what this very strong person says. This smart woman. Does she have the guts? Does she have the balls to come out and say something bold? And she does, and I do too. And she says, this is bold. Let's enforce the existing minimum of age 13, Twenge says, referring to the age minimum often used by social media platforms in the United States. Even better, let's raise the minimum age of social media to 16. I think that would make the biggest difference.
Well, social media is a big one. The earliest I had a phone, I want to say I was either 9th or 10th grade. It was one of those Nokias, right? It was like you could just call on it, maybe play the game Snake. That was it. There was no internet. There was nothing else. It was just a call.
I'm not afraid of giving bold advice. I do with all of my members in my VIP community. If you are struggling with screens or your emotions or your parenting or any topic, I invite you to come and join me. I will be your parent coach. I will talk to you directly in a VIP. What I teach people, and I've been teaching this for a long time, is what I feel is best for almost all kids, not all kids, but almost all kids, is social media. The earliest a child can get on social media would be freshman year of high school. Earliest. I
Yeah.
just have not seen the evidence in my experience, in my science, in my research to see that they can handle social media in middle school. It's a hot mess. It's
It
a hot
is.
mess.
And the hard part is like all their friends are getting it. And I mean, it's tough when you have kids and their friends all have it and they think they're the losers because they don't have it and they get picked on. That's how do we handle that as parents? Because that's happening right
Well,
now.
here's
And I don't want to cave in, but
here's how I handled it. I can tell you a lot about how to handle this. I can tell you lots of tricks, do's and don'ts. I even wrote a book, A Parent's Guide to Break Screen Addiction. There's some great tips and great tools in that. So some freshmen in high school are not ready to have social media, Jordan. They're not. And
I would argue most.
I think most, yeah. Like, I think there's a huge difference between the junior mind and the freshman mind. But I can't get into personal details about my family to honor my teenagers' privacies or my children, my family's privacy. But let me just say this: I have some family members, because I've got nieces and nephews and all types of kids that I love in my life that I'm close to. That when they got social media for the first time, freshman year, they immediately struggled with it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
You post something and you get no likes. That you know what I mean? Oh my gosh, no one saw it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a mind game.
I've had some of my daughter's best friends that as soon as they got Snapchat freshman year of high school, the girl changed, overnight change
I
for
bet.
the worse. And
I
now
bet.
it's a sad story. I'm not going to say her name, but it's just sad. I've had family members and seen kids who I'm very connected to. They struggle, they make bad decisions. And in those situations, what I advise you to do is you wait until sophomore year now. You're not ready. You're not ready.
What if we have already given our kids this social media? Should we maybe remove it?
Yes.
We should.
So one of the best things you can do, instead of taking it away for a day or 2 or 3, is a tool I teach. You can read about it in my book more. It's called a trust screen fast. Trust screen fast.
How long is that fast?
There's no time limit involved.
Okay.
It's built on trust. When you
Between you and okay.
Through your actions, right, that I can really trust you with this device, then we can talk about you getting it again.
That sounds like great advice even for a 16-year-old learning to drive. Can I trust you with this device? Trust. Or anything?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, because, they're not entitled to these devices.
Right.
They have their whole lifetime to be on social media.
Yeah.
We don't need to rush this. We don't need to force it. We don't need to rush it. They're not entitled to it. And if somebody makes a bad decision when they're 16, well, they may not be ready to drive yet, even though they got their
Hmm.
driver's license. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you continue to make bad decisions behind a car, well, then the state is going to remove your license.
Hmm.
And this is what more parents need to be doing is more black and white, strong, not this gray monitoring. You get 1 hour a day, you get 5 hours. Because as we all know, freaking annoying.
Yeah.
That type of monitoring a teenager's use. You know that because you kind of do that with your kids. And you do it because you love your kids, because it works. Like, tell us, I know what you do with your kids, but tell us a little bit more about the big screens versus the little screens and why that's working for you guys. Because
Well, I
great
mean, our
job. You're
kids,
not letting screens ruin your kids. Good job. But tell
we
us how you're doing that.
we do, I try to keep my kids busy throughout the week, and that'll kind of lean us into our second topic. But we do allow them to have screens, and they can come home from school and kind of check out for a little bit because I keep them busy. But when they have the personal screens, they start to just get angry and just at each other, at me, at and I'm like, what happened? What is going on? And so we've taken the small screens away and say, listen, you can watch something on the big TV with all of us together. And it's been a lot better. There's constant battles between who gets to watch what show, but that's going to happen with everybody. But we're all kind of in this together, and I'm able to monitor a little bit more about what they're watching and
Yeah,
enjoy those shows with them.
that's good.
But I mean, sometimes I'm like, okay, time to turn it off. And it's, well, can I please watch the rest of this? Can I watch one more video? And, go through that whole process. Please, one more, one more. And then they turn it off and they're like, okay, I'm bored. And then they're jumping on the couch and they're like, let's do that. And then they drive me crazy. And so I'm almost like, just
Mhm.
turn the dang thing back on and
Yeah.
shush.
Yeah, man, that's what they do.
So sometimes you got to do the old fashioned and kick them out the door and say, when I ring this triangle, dinner's ready. Okay. Not come back till I ring this triangle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like one of your sons, for example, he does gymnastics 3 hours a day, four
For
days a
three
week.
times a week, 3 or 4 days a week.
I
Yeah,
mean,
competitive gymnastics. I mean, he's there a lot, and he's burning calories, and he's with his student athletes and his coaches, and I
yeah,
know how draining that is, especially after
yeah,
school, right?
right.
So I'll let him check out,
Yeah,
and I'll be like, it's okay, you can have this screen time. Like, I get how hard you're working. It's all good, man.
because what you have here is trust. You trust him to rock it at school, rock it at chores, rock it at the gym, and then it's like and you trust him that he's going to make wise choices for that, 1 to 2 hours because he's so exhausted.
Yeah, but let's be honest, right? Even though us parents try to trust our kids, think about what you did as a kid. You always try to test the waters, and I'll hear a YouTube show throwing out some S bombs or F bombs every once in a while. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, this is
Yeah,
not what we agreed to, and so you have to constantly go in
right.
and reassure that trust.
What advice do you have for someone who doesn't have a kid who's in high level sports or drama or music? Like, does your daughter do as many extra like curriculars as your son? And does she get more screen time then because she's home more? How does that work?
I would say by default, yeah, she'll kind of maybe get a little bit more, not because I'm allowing it, just because she's so quiet over there and not bugging anybody. And I'll just, oh shoot, all this time has passed and she's been sitting there watching something. But you have to parent to your child and know what your specific child needs, their strengths, and I can kind of see how much different she is than him. And when it comes to that. But I mean, she's also the one begging for a phone right now. Her friends are getting phones. They're 9. And I'm
Oh
like, this is not the
gosh.
time.
No,
I'm not letting you
so
get one
early.
until ninth grade at the earliest.
Please,
Okay.
please. Yes.
So that one's going to be a little bit more difficult. And so we urge, whoops, as I hit my kids' toys, we urge our, kids to just, we'll all snap sometimes and say, turn it off. That's it. Get out of here. Go play with your brother. Go find a friend. And it's amazing when we have them turn it off and they stop bugging me after.
Yes.
They go out and do things that is creative. She'll do her nails. She'll go run next door. My son the other day, I was like, where'd he go? He's been playing with a friend for hours. I go, they're playing tennis at the tennis court. I'm like, hey, that's cool. The hard part is the trust you have with your kid in the screens, plus the trust you have with the other parents. Because if they say, can I go play at Johnny's house?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And you think they're playing, but maybe they're just sitting there on screens also. And
Right.
that's when it can get
Yeah.
difficult too.
Oh my gosh. Well said. And Jordan, this is why when I asked you, hey man, when that question as we prepared this episode, when you think about ways we can screw up our kids, you said two things that were so good we made a whole podcast episode about it. And now that I listen to us film this episode, I see these two things as totally intertwined. They are
Me too.
one. Like we can't. Like a part of me thought, like, should we just end episode right now and just do number two another time? But we can't. So tell us number two, three ways to screw up your kids. What would you say your number two is?
Number two is not having them in extracurriculars, whatever that is. Because if you don't, they're going to come home and just sit on the screen or bug the heck out of you. Or, who knows what they're going to do? Get in trouble. Maybe not. Maybe you've got a good kid. Maybe they'll come home and do puzzles for hours. I don't know, but that's rare, right? That's not normal.
Yes.
It's rare. So, like, the busier I can keep them, the more I know what they're doing. They're exerting energy because let's be honest, kids need to exert a lot of energy. They need to go play.
Yes.
So I have a minimum, like you have to do two things. I don't care what it is. Two
Right.
things. My son's got gymnastics. My daughter she does the horseback riding. She's trying to figure out her sports. She's going to maybe try volleyball, and she hasn't stuck with one thing, but we try a few things. They don't have to be expensive. And there's a lot of studies out there. Like I was doing some study, some research like you were, and the Pew Research Center did a whole thing on children's extracurricular activities. They broke it down by race. They broke it down by where people live, suburbs versus inner city.
Okay.
But the consensus is the more kids are in extracurriculars, the better off they are in school. And, there is some studies here that suggest, I was looking, what is this one? Extracurricular participation, student engagement, National Center for Education Statistics, whatever that is, right?
Fancy.
But it says, right, when you have kids in an extracurricular, they're less likely to miss school because they know if they do, they'll get in trouble and they won't be able to play the sport. They are less likely to skip classes. They're more likely to have a better GPA, 3.0 or higher, especially because most schools, you have to have a minimum 2.0 just to play sports.
Yep.
And, they're getting other parental figures in their lives. They're making friends. They're staying off that tech, and they're doing something that's fun, and they're doing something healthy. So
good.
The thing about it is you just don't want to push them too far, or go back and listen to our Sideline Parent podcast. That's a good one too. Don't be that crazy sideline parent.
Or overscheduling your
or overscheduling.
Yeah.
Focus on one thing. To focus, have it be one sport. Go to the driving range twice a week or once a week. Just do something. Take on archery. It doesn't matter what it is. You could be a puppetry. Just something
Puppetry.
that
You're
is,
right. It could be puppetry.
It could be anything. Using your creative side, and they can focus on the now and not worry about what Susie said at the playground earlier that day or what someone texted them.
Yeah, man. Let me echo this great wisdom you're sharing. It's really important for kids to be involved in things outside the house. And that could just be organized sports. It could be a church youth group, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. It could be just playing with the neighborhood kids. Like, in your heart, like that your kids should be out of that house and should be doing extracurricular thing. There's research that supports that. Even with the research out of Grit and Perseverance, it tells us that the grittiest kids are the kids who are doing extracurricular activities. It could be piano lessons. It could be X, Y. You want to get them around being social, even if it's their piano teacher. Really good. Let's take that though, and let's balance it. And let me answer a question that everyone's asking, Jordan. So the question that the two questions that everyone's asking right now is, one is, how do I balance this? How do I have these activities but not overschedule my kid? And the number one question that everyone's thinking right now, especially if you have kids 12 and up, is what do I do when my kid doesn't want to do anything? That's what everyone's thinking right now, man. Not everyone. That's what some people are thinking. So I'm going to give them my answer to that. Do you have any thoughts on giving advice for parents who say, Jordan, I love what you have to say. Man, I wish my son was like your son. I wish my daughter was like yours.
My son doesn't want to do gymnastics. He didn't care. I just said, hey, let's do something. And now that he's been doing it, he enjoys it. What I'm saying is, when you start something, these kids aren't going to be like gung-ho for it until they learn it, because they're going to be terrible at it. You're going to go do something and be like, I suck at this, They want instant gratification. So I don't know if they're older, they're going to be interested in something. It's just That's what it is. And
Good.
I'm going to argue this, and I don't know what your take is on this, but let's say their hobby is a screen. Well, then why don't we get them a GoPro and have them create content? Maybe that can be their hobby. And I don't know if
Yes.
that's good or bad, but at least they're doing
No,
something and not just retaining,
active.
being active, being
Lots of
creative.
wisdom there. My 7-year-old is going to play soccer for the first time, and she's joining a team with her friend Emily, who's actually Chris's daughter. Who Chris was from last
Oh,
week's episode.
wow.
Chris Smith,
Yeah.
parenting with trauma, and Emily's a big stud. She scores like numerous goals a game, and Emily's never played soccer, and so she's joining this team, this regular rec team. And they don't even have goalies right in this league because they're 7. And I try to tell her, Kenzie, you may not be good at soccer, and that's okay. You might
Yeah.
even be it might be scary for you out there because the
Yeah.
other girls might be better than you, and that's okay. Just don't give up. Just give it a shot. You'll get better, because that's what you need to tell our kids, because they're afraid of trying new things. They're afraid of looking stupid. They're afraid of doing something they don't like, and that's where the parent comes in. Are we going to enable them just sitting home being a couch potato and abusing a screen, or are we going to parent them into hard things, into healthy things?
Can you give us okay, so how's that going? Is she still
Well,
in
she's only
soccer?
had
Does she
one
love it?
practice.
Oh,
She's only
okay, it's
had
brand
one
new.
practice,
Okay. All right.
and the second practice is tonight. And
Okay.
I get to go because I had to work with my VIP community on the first practice, so I will be there tonight. I get to
Nice.
see her.
Nice. All right.
I'll post her picture. I'm going to post it on my social media. She's
Okay.
so cute little pink soccer cleats with pink little,
Yeah.
pink shin guards. She's so cute.
I'm going to check in with you in a couple months. I'm going to see how it's going in a couple months. That's
Thankfully,
good.
I asked her, did you, because she was like, Daddy, I don't want to go. Please don't make me go. I don't want to play
Right.
soccer. She did just exactly what you said. She
Yeah.
does not want to play. She changed her
Right.
mind. And am I going to we've already paid for $100 uniform, paid for $100
Yeah.
fee.
Yeah.
I'm a freaking parent. No, of
Right.
course she's going to go play soccer for a year.
Right.
And I said, look, you're going to play
Try
this
one
year.
season.
We're going to try it. And if you hate it, you don't have to play it again next year.
Perfect.
You do something different.
Perfect.
But you don't have to play it. Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Smart.
Thank you.
Very smart. Yeah. Now, if they're older, if you got 15, 16, 17, I don't know. I mean, I didn't know I was going to like drama. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, was like, hey, let's do drama. I'm like, I'm not going to do drama. I did it and I loved it. The thing is, like, just try random things and you'll see what the kid likes. Everyone's interested in something. You just got to figure out what that is and help push them along.
So this is some of you that are listening are still struggling. So let me tell you what you're struggling with and what to do about it. They're saying, Jordan, Sean, my child refuses, won't even get in the car, refuses to go. What do I do? Here's what you do. You be the parent and you limit that screen time to either nothing or to what the CDC says. You listen to the CDC. So that 1 or 2 hours a day. And then you're going to give your children this beautiful gift. One of the greatest gifts you can ever give a child. It's an amazing gift. It'll change their life. Jordan, do you know what I'm talking about right now? What gift I'm talking about?
A book. No, I don't know. What?
Oh, it's better than any book. It's called The Gift of Boredom.
That's right.
Research
The Gift of Boredom
loves this gift. Research and the scientists and the nerds have a lot to say about this gift. Boredom is incredible for our kids. So what happens then is your kid is going to be whiny and mopey for anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks because they don't have screen time. They don't want to read. And then you say, look, this is your life. You can spend your middle school years here doing nothing and moping around the house, but I'm not going back. You will not get more screen time. You need to be involved in getting out of this house. And here's the thing, son. Here's the thing, daughter. Once you start getting more involved in extracurriculars and you've shown me that you were going to balance your own life, when you show me that I can trust you to balance your own life, well, then you will get more screen time than you have now, right?
That's good.
It'll be balanced it out. And this is why your son is getting that much screen time, because he balances his life out at age 9. He's out there playing tennis.
Yeah, he's busting his butt. Yeah.
Busting his butt, having fun. I mean, you look at the pictures of this kid, your kids look like they live in Jamaica. They're so tan. You know?
They do like the pool. I learned that. I take them swimming. Go take the kids swimming. Every kid loves to swim. That's a fun little thing to do. And it's hard. It's hard because we don't have the time. I have a friend in Seattle, and I remember her kids, they would take the city bus to do their extracurriculars. I was like, you have your kids take the bus? She
Yes.
goes, yes, because I want them to,
Yes.
and I'm working. And I'm like, wow, that's a
Love
lot of
it.
trust. It was
It's a
crazy.
lot of trust, but hey, that actually leads us to our final point, which was going to spend a couple seconds on. Okay, 3 ways to screw up your kids. Jordan, what was number 1 again?
Not giving your kids screens too early. My thing was just like a phone specifically, but screen time.
3 ways to screw up your kids. Number 1, giving your kids too much screen time, giving them a screen time too early. Number
Too
2,
early.
Jordan, what's number 2 way to screw up our kids?
Not having them in extracurriculars. Have them do something, a hobby. Get them something other than the screen and school, something different.
They're a human being. They need to be living like a human being out there, living their
Yes.
lives up. And the number 3 way that parents that you can screw up your kids is to parent your kid in fear that you are screwing up your kid.
We're so scared for screwing up our kids that we don't want to screw them up. So we're scared that we end up screwing them up.
Isn't that funny? Let me say it again.
Yeah,
Parent your kids in fear because you are afraid of screwing up your kids. Isn't that interesting?
Which we all are. Let's be honest. We're all worried that we're going to screw up our kids.
But you feel in your heart, are you parenting your kids in fear? Or are you parenting your kids in health? Is there a fear that's leading your heart, that's guiding your mind, that's holding your parenting back, that's holding your kid back? We just heard a pretty wild story about a parent in Seattle who puts their kids on a bus. And in 2023, that sounds wild, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not
It does.
wild. Those kids are probably very confident. They're probably street
Oh,
smart.
they're so confident. Yep.
They're not getting kidnapped. They're going and they're living it up because that's what kids did when we were that age too, and they can still do it today. If you are parenting your kids in fear, if you feel like you're this frantic mom and just always afraid, always anxious, always yelling, well, you might be screwing your kids up. And I beg of you, I implore you, stop. Let me help you if you need help. Don't parent your kids in fear. Don't live in fear. Life is too short for you to be living in fear and anxiety and worry. Right, Jordan?
Yeah. And lean into each other, right? Use other parents, use your friends. There's people out there to help, right? And there's organizations out there. I mean, a lot of these extracurriculars are free. You don't have to pay. It's not like I don't have the money. You can find ways for them to give them a fishing pole. Find a fishing pole at a Goodwill and say, hey, or go to the local pond and go fish. I used to do that as a kid. It was great.
One of my buddies told me he's like he's really good at bowling. They went bowling. I couldn't go because my back was all jacked. He bowls like a 220. And I was like, dude, how do you
Whoa.
get so good at bowling? He's like, yeah, because when I was in high school and bowling, they had like free bowling for students. So I would go down there and I'd bowl. I was bowling.
Oh, that's cool.
Bowl. There's activities out there that are affordable for every family, and so have the strength to limit your kids' screen time, and be the parent, be the adult, be the leader that leads them to live a healthy, balanced life outside that house. And do not parent in fear. Jordan, tell me something you're thankful for today, my man.
Oh man. Well, shoot, this podcast has been great. I'm so thankful for it. I'm thankful that we have parents out there that are wise enough to kind of see some of these troubles that these screens are giving us, and the world we're going into is not easy. And so I'm so thankful that we have others to lean on, and that we have people like you to give us some of these tips, because it can be very, very hard. And I'm thankful that we've got these organizations, these sports. There's so many things to do these days. I mean, we're coming up with new ways to have fun, that there are so many options to get our kids outside. And I'm thankful for that.
Well said. You know who I'm thankful for? I'm thankful for Chris Smith, for his daughter, Emily, and for my 7-year-old, Kenzie, because this man who lived
Through a lot,
traumatic life is now this amazing soccer coach. And the girls love him, and I love him, and he's leading my daughter in health. And he's a leader, and he made soccer fun for my 7-year-old, and she loved her first soccer practice. So I will be leaving to the Shooting Stars soccer practice in about 3 hours, and I'm thankful for soccer.
Amen, brother.
And I'm thankful for you, my fellow listeners. So thank you for listening. If you have the chance, please go on Apple Reviews and leave Jordan and I a review on what you think about our show. And please email us or comment us if you have any tips or tools on how we can improve this, or an episode you'd like us to make. I'm thankful for you, my fellow parent. Stay strong, be close, teach wisdom. We love you.